The galaxy was quiet when humanity first noticed the signs. For many years, humans had lived across dozens of worlds, building cities on new planets, sending fleets to map the stars, and trading with peaceful neighbors. There had been wars before, but nothing that could not be handled. People began to believe that maybe, at last, humanity had found a balance in the universe. But peace never lasts forever. It began with silence. A mining colony on the edge of known space stopped answering. At first, the leaders on Earth thought it was a system failure. Messages were sent, rescue ships launched, but none returned. Then came the refugees, small groups of broken survivors drifting in damaged ships. Their eyes were wide with terror, and their stories chilled every listener. They spoke of creatures taller than men, with long heads and cold, shining eyes. They spoke of weapons that melted steel like water and screams that never ended. The attackers did not want land or resources. They wanted to send a message. The survivors described the aliens with fear in their voices. They were unlike any species humanity had met before. There was no attempt at peace, no effort to speak. They only killed, captured, and destroyed. On the walls of the burned colonies, strange symbols were carved. No one understood them, but they all carried the same meaning. Humanity was nothing. Humanity must kneel or vanish. For weeks, the attacks spread like a plague. Outposts went dark. Patrol ships never returned. Each time, the enemy left the same warning behind. Some human leaders wanted to wait, to understand, but patience ended on the day of the massacre. A colony named Haven, home to more than 2 million people, was wiped out in less than 24 hours. When rescue fleets arrived, they found nothing but ruins. No survivors, no voices calling for help. Only a single alien beacon pulsing with light, repeating the words in hundreds of human languages. Humanity must kneel, or humanity will perish. The moment the message was played in the great halls of Earth, something changed. People were not afraid anymore. They were angry. For the first time in centuries, every human nation and every distant colony united with one voice. The attack on Haven was not just war. It was an insult, an open wound carved into the soul of humanity. Humanity had been threatened, and when humanity was threatened, it remembered its strength. Admiral Corrin, one of the oldest commanders of the fleet, stood before the leaders and spoke words that echoed across the stars. This will be the last species to test us. We will not kneel. We will not beg. We will fight until nothing of them remains. The speech was broadcast to every screen, every ship, every colony. Families wept, not with fear, but with determination. Soldiers volunteered in millions. Factories worked without rest, building weapons and ships that glowed with power. But still, fear lingered in the shadows. Nobody knew how strong the enemy truly was. The survivors told of fleets that seemed endless, of weapons that broke entire planets. Some whispered that the aliens were not fighting for resources, but for domination, for control of every living thing. Others believed the aliens saw humanity as a rival that must be crushed before it grew too strong. Whatever the reason, there could be no peace between them. The first true encounter came soon after. A human fleet of 10 warships entered a system near the edge of alien space. They were ordered to scout, to test the strength of the enemy. For hours, the ships reported nothing, drifting in the shadow of a blue sun. Then the stars themselves seemed to shift. From the darkness, the alien fleet appeared. Dozens of ships, sleek and silver, their surfaces glowing with strange blue lines like veins of fire. They moved in silence, without signals, without warning. The human admiral sent a message, one last attempt to speak. The aliens answered not with words, but with fire. Their weapons lit the void, slicing through metal like paper. In minutes, 3 human ships were gone. But humanity did not run. The remaining vessels fought back with fury. Cannons roared, missiles burned through the black, and for the first time an alien ship was destroyed. It shattered into pieces, glowing fragments scattering like dying stars. The humans cheered, but the victory was short. More alien ships poured from the shadows, and the fleet was surrounded. With courage, the admiral ordered the last ships to retreat, covering their escape with fire. Only 2 made it back. their hulls burning, their crews broken but alive. The message was clear. The enemy was real, the enemy was powerful, and the enemy wanted nothing less than humanity's extinction. When the survivors returned to Earth, the people listened. The fear in their voices, the scars on their bodies, and the images they carried of alien ships spreading like a storm across the sky. All of it made one truth impossible to deny. The war had begun, and it would not end with peace. In the silence that followed, the leaders of humanity signed the order that would change history. The fleets were to launch. The armies were to rise. Every world, every colony, every family would stand together. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would fight. And as the ships left their ports, engines glowing like fire, there was one thought in every human mind. This enemy had made a mistake. They had made humanity angry. The fleets of humanity did not rest after the first encounter. The news of the battle spread faster than light itself. Across every colony, across every world, men and women watched the broken ships return. They saw the scorched hulls, the damaged weapons, and the tired faces of the few who survived. For the first time, the galaxy understood the danger. The aliens were not shadows anymore. They were real, and they were coming. Factories across human space roared with life. The smell of iron and smoke filled the air of countless worlds as weapons rolled from the assembly lines. Engineers worked without sleep, improving designs, crafting new defenses. Old war veterans returned to the training fields, teaching young soldiers how to fight in space, how to survive the chaos of battle. In a single month, the human race prepared more than it had in a century, but the enemy did not wait. Reports came in every week. Colonies burned. Trade routes vanished. Alien ships appeared suddenly, striking fast and vanishing before fleets could catch them. They did not take resources. They only left ruin. People began to understand. This was not war for survival. This was war for domination. Admiral Corrin, now leading the largest human fleet ever gathered, stood in the command hall of the battleship Iron Will. Around him, maps of the stars glowed with red and blue lights. Red for humanity, blue for the enemy, and every day the blue grew larger. Corrin spoke to his captains. His voice was firm, but his eyes showed the weight of every decision. We cannot defend forever. To wait is to die. We must take the fight to them. His words carried across the fleet, filling thousands of soldiers with resolve. Humanity would not hide behind walls. Humanity would strike back. The target was chosen carefully. On the edge of alien-controlled space was a captured human colony called Meridian. Once it had been a shining jewel, rich with rivers and green lands. Now it was a fortress of the enemy. Strange towers rose from the ground, pulsing with blue light, reshaping the very soil. Survivors whispered that the aliens used the planet as a base to launch attacks deeper into human space. If humanity could reclaim Meridian, it would be the first true victory of the war. The fleet moved silently, engines dimmed, slipping through dark space. Soldiers sat in their cabins, holding pictures of families, whispering quiet prayers. Some wrote letters, knowing they might never return. Others sharpened their blades, checked their rifles, or stared at the stars with burning anger. For all of them, the same thought echoed. Haven, the colony that was lost, must be avenged. When the fleet arrived, Meridian was no longer beautiful. The once green world glowed with alien light. Strange black scars cut across the land, and the cities humans had built now lay in ruins, their skeletons wrapped in alien metal. Orbiting above were dozens of enemy ships, silent, waiting. The order was given. Human ships surged forward, weapons hot. The void exploded with fire. Missiles streaked through the dark, tearing through alien hulls. The aliens answered with beams of light so bright they cut through battleships like knives. Metal screamed, men and women died, but humanity did not falter. Every ship that fell took an enemy with it. The battle raged for hours. The sky above Meridian became a storm of fire and smoke. Admirals barked orders, pilots screamed warnings, soldiers prayed as the stars themselves seemed to burn. Slowly, painfully, the balance shifted. Humanity's rage turned into strength. One by one, the alien ships broke under the storm. Their sleek silver hulls, once untouchable, shattered against human resolve. At last, the path to the planet opened. Dropships descended through the burning skies, carrying soldiers into the ruined cities. On the ground, the fighting was brutal. Alien warriors stood taller than men, their bodies strong and armored with natural plates. Their weapons hissed and burned, cutting through stone and steel. But the humans were relentless. With grenades, rifles, and sheer determination, they pushed forward street by street. Captain Lyra, leading the ground assault, stood at the front with her soldiers. Her voice carried through the chaos. "For Haven! For Meridian!" Every shout, every bullet, every strike was fueled not by fear, but by fury. And slowly, the aliens began to fall back. When the last alien stronghold on Meridian collapsed, silence filled the battlefield. Smoke rose into the sky, and the once living world lay broken. But for the first time since the war began, humanity had won. Soldiers raised their flags above the ruins, their voices echoing with victory. Across the stars, people celebrated. For one moment, fear gave way to hope, but hope came with a price. Thousands of human lives had been lost in the battle. Entire fleets were gone. Families would never see their loved ones again. Admiral Corrin stood at the window of his ship, watching Meridian's burning sky. He knew this victory was only the beginning. The enemy would not forgive. The enemy would not stop. And deep within alien space, the rulers of the enemy watched. Their glowing eyes studied the reports of Meridian. For the first time, they understood that humanity was not weak. Humanity would not kneel, and the aliens whispered among themselves a dark promise. If humanity would not kneel, then humanity would be erased. The war was far from over. It had only just begun. The victory at Meridian spread like fire through human space. On every world, from the shining towers of Earth to the dust-covered colonies on the edge of the galaxy, people spoke of it with pride. Humanity had faced the enemy and had not broken. Songs were written, banners were raised, and for the first time since the war began, laughter returned to human settlements. But beneath the joy was a quiet truth that could not be ignored. The cost of Meridian was heavy. Too many lives had been lost, too many ships destroyed. The celebration was real, but so was the fear. If one victory required so much blood, how could humanity survive a war that stretched across the stars? Admiral Corrin knew this truth better than anyone. Standing in the command room of the Iron Will, he stared at the endless reports. Fleet losses, supply shortages, entire colonies begging for protection. He understood the danger. Humanity had won a battle, not the war. The aliens would return, stronger and angrier than before, and return they did. Weeks after Meridian, scouts reported strange activity at the edge of human-controlled space. Entire star systems flickered with blue energy, as if the very stars had been chained by alien hands. Soon the enemy launched their response. Massive fleets, larger than any humanity had faced, poured into contested space. Their ships were no longer hunting small colonies. They were marching toward the very heart of human civilization. The first clash came in the Darnis system. A fleet of 50 human warships met an alien force twice its size. The battle was brutal. Alien beams lit the darkness, tearing through human lines. Entire ships exploded in bursts of fire, scattering debris across the void. But humanity did not retreat. The captains fought with everything they had, ramming alien vessels when their weapons failed, detonating reactors to take enemies down with them. By the end, both fleets were shattered, and the system itself burned. Word of Darnis shook human space. This was no longer a war of raids or skirmishes. This was total war, a clash of civilizations. Humanity was strong, but the enemy was endless. The enemy had a name now. From fragments of data stolen on Meridian, scientists pieced together a single word from the alien language. The Zerith. The Zerith were not conquerors searching for land. They were destroyers. Every species they met had been erased. Humanity was only the latest target. In the halls of Earth, leaders debated in fear. Some begged for peace, for surrender. But Admiral Corrin stood before them, his voice like iron. There can be no peace with the Zereth. To kneel is to die slowly. To fight is our only hope. His words carried across the stars, and once again humanity united. The next great battle came at Vera Prime, a human fortress world. Its skies bristled with cannons, its orbit lined with defense stations. If Vera fell, the path to Earth would be open. The Zereth knew this. They sent their largest fleet yet. For 3 days, fire consumed the skies of Vera. Human ships clashed with alien war machines, their wreckage raining down onto the planet below. On the ground, soldiers fought in burning cities, holding every street, every wall, every inch of land. Captain Lyra led her battalion through smoke and ash, shouting orders as alien warriors tore through defenses. The battle was chaos, screams and explosions blending into one endless storm. In orbit, the Iron Will fought at the center of the storm. Admiral Corrin gave no thought to retreat. His fleet formed a wall around Vera, blocking the alien advance again and again. Every time a human ship fell, another moved forward to take its place. But the Zereth kept coming. Their ships seemed endless, their fury unmatched. By the third night, Vera's cities were in ruins. The aliens had breached the outer walls. Families hid in underground shelters, praying to see another sunrise. Captain Lyra's forces were pushed back street by street. Her voice grew hoarse from shouting, her armor burned, her rifle nearly broken. Yet she stood, because she knew surrender meant extinction. Then came the turning point. Human scientists, working in secret, had created a new weapon, an energy disruptor capable of tearing through the Zereth's shields. It was untested, dangerous, and unstable, but there was no choice. On Admiral Corrin's order, the weapon was deployed. A massive wave of energy surged through the battlefield, crashing into the alien fleet. For the first time, the Zereth shields failed. Their ships burned under human fire. One after another they fell, their wreckage lighting up the sky. On the ground, alien warriors staggered as their weapons faltered, giving humans the chance to strike back. Slowly, painfully, the tide turned. When the dust cleared, Vera still stood. The human flag still waved over the ruins, and the people still lived. Humanity had survived again, but the cost was almost unbearable. The planet lay broken, its cities destroyed, its soil scorched. Millions were dead. Admiral Corrin looked at the burning world and knew the truth. Every battle would be worse than the last. The Zereth would not stop until humanity was erased. But humanity had proven something too. They could fight, they could adapt, they could win no matter the cost. And deep within Zereth space, their leaders gathered. They studied the Battle of Vera. They saw their fleets destroyed, their shields broken, and for the first time, the Zereth felt something they had never known before. Fear. The war stretched across the stars, and each battle left scars that would never fade. Humanity had survived Meridian and Vera, but the galaxy was burning. Entire systems became graveyards, filled with broken ships and drifting bodies. The Zereth struck without rest, and humanity struck back with equal fury. It was a war of shadows and fire, a war that promised no easy end. Admiral Corrin carried the weight of every life lost. On board the Iron Will, he stood in the strategy chamber, maps of the galaxy glowing before him. Blue for the Zereth, red for humanity, and countless systems in between changing color every day. His officers argued around him, their voices sharp with fear. Supplies were running thin. Shipyards were stretched beyond their limits. Colonies begged for protection that could not be given. And yet, amid this darkness, a secret discovery changed everything. During the Battle of Vera, human scientists had not only built the energy disruptor, they had captured fragments of Zereth technology. Within the broken circuits and alien crystals, they found clues. The Zereth were connected by something deeper than just ships and armies. Their entire civilization was linked through a vast network, a hub world, where their control and power flowed like blood through veins. It was a dangerous idea, one that divided even the bravest leaders. If humanity could strike that hub world, the Zereth might collapse. But to attack it would mean crossing deep into enemy space, where fleets beyond number waited. Failure would mean total destruction. Captain Lyra was among those who supported the plan. She had fought on Meridian and Vera, seen entire cities fall to fire. "If we fight them ship by ship, world by world, we will lose," she said. "But if we strike at their heart, they may fall in one blow." Her words carried weight, for she was not only a soldier, but a survivor of horrors most could not imagine. Still, doubts remained. To destroy the Zereth hub-world was to destroy their entire species. It would mean genocide. Some leaders hesitated. Was humanity strong enough to take such a step? Could they carry the burden of wiping out another intelligent race, no matter how cruel? Admiral Corrin listened to every voice, but his mind was clear. He remembered Haven, the colony erased without mercy. He remembered Meridian, scarred by alien towers. He remembered the screams of families buried beneath the ruins of Vera. His answer was cold, but certain. If we do not end them, they will end us. The mission was prepared in silence. Only the highest commanders knew the truth. A fleet of humanity's strongest ships was gathered, armed with new weapons and experimental technology. Soldiers were chosen not for their rank, but for their resolve. They were told the mission would decide the future of the galaxy. None asked for details. They already knew the journey to the hub world was filled with danger. The fleet slipped past patrols, hid within asteroid belts, and destroyed any outpost that threatened to expose them. Every hour the tension grew. The deeper they went, the more alien space pressed around them. The stars themselves seemed colder, sharper, as if watching with silent judgment. At last they reached the edge of the Zereth heartland, and there, across the void, the hub world appeared. It was not a planet in the human sense. It was a colossal sphere, wrapped in glowing lines of energy, pulsing like a living heart. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it, a shield of steel and fire. Towers of light rose into space from its surface, connecting to satellites and stations that spread across the system like a web. It was beautiful and terrifying, the very symbol of Zereth power. The human soldiers stared at it in silence. For some, it was a vision of victory. For others, it was a vision of doom. Captain Lyra whispered only one word: "Finally." The order was given. Engines roared, weapons powered, and humanity's fleet charged. The void exploded with fire as the two greatest armies the galaxy had ever known collided. The battle was beyond imagination. Alien beams cut through space like rivers of light, tearing through ships by the dozen. Human missiles rained down, breaking through enemy shields in waves of fire. Fighters danced between giant cruisers, leaving trails of smoke and flame. The hub world itself seemed to pulse faster, as if the Zereth felt the danger within their core. Admiral Corrin's voice echoed through every channel. "Do not stop. Do not break. Today decides everything." His words gave strength to those on the edge of despair. Ships that should have retreated pressed forward. Soldiers who had nothing left to give fought harder still, but the Zereth were relentless. For every ship destroyed, two more appeared. The human fleet began to thin, its lines breaking. For a moment it seemed as if the mission was doomed. Then came the risk, the final gamble. The energy disruptor, now rebuilt into a massive weapon, was prepared. It could shatter the shield around the hub world, but using it meant overloading the Iron Will itself. Admiral Corrin stood silent, knowing what must be done. He gave the order without hesitation. The Iron Will moved forward, engines burning brighter than ever before. Alien fire ripped into its hull, tearing through decks and systems, but the ship did not slow. On board, crew members worked without fear, knowing they would not survive. The disruptor charged, glowing with unbearable light, and then it fired. A wave of energy swept across the battlefield, slamming into the hub world's shield. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then the shield cracked, split, and shattered into nothing. The path was open. Humanity's fleet roared as one and dived toward the hub world. The Iron Will burned, its hull breaking apart, but Admiral Corrin stood tall until the very end. His sacrifice gave humanity its chance. The hub world was vulnerable. Now the war could be decided, but victory was not certain. The Zereth still fought like demons, and the hub world still pulsed with dark energy. Humanity had opened the door, but stepping through it might cost everything. The fate of both species now hung on a single blade's edge. The war had reached a point of no return. The humans no longer spoke of peace, no longer asked for surrender. Every ship that left Earth and the colonies carried only one mission: to end the alien threat forever. The memory of the colonies destroyed, the cries of the children lost, and the message of the aliens demanding humans to kneel lived in every soldier's heart. The fire of anger had turned into something colder: vengeance. The alien fleet was not weak. They were still dangerous, still clever, and still cruel. In the battles of the past months, they had destroyed whole cities and poisoned planets to stop human advance. But every time, humanity answered with more strength, more fury, more numbers. The aliens realized they were not fighting one army. They were fighting the will of an entire species that refused to bend. Now, the humans had found the truth. The weakness of the enemy was discovered. Deep in alien space, hidden among dying suns, was a hub world. It was no ordinary planet. It was the heart of their network, the core that connected their fleets, their communications, even their command. Without this hub, the alien species would not just lose a war. They would fall apart. In the War Council, the leaders argued. Some said destroying the hub would mean genocide. Others said sparing it would mean the aliens could return one day, stronger and more dangerous. The memory of past threats weighed heavily. Humanity had once suffered under empires and tyrants, and now, among the stars, they could not risk letting a predator survive. The vote was not close. The decision was made. Humanity would strike the hub world. As fleets gathered near the jump point, soldiers prepared in silence. They cleaned their weapons, checked their armor, and stared at old photographs of family. Everyone knew what was coming. It was not just another battle. It was the end of a species. The alien commanders also knew. Their spies had seen the human fleets gather. They prepared their defenses with desperation. The hub world shone like a fortress in the dark, surrounded by rings of warships, defense platforms, and weapons that could shatter moons. For the aliens, this was the final stand. If they failed, their race would not survive. The battle began with fire. Human dreadnoughts opened the fight, their cannons burning through alien shields. Fighters swarmed in clouds, weaving between enemy turrets. Alien beams cut through the darkness, ripping apart cruisers, but for every ship lost, another took its place. The humans had come with everything. They had come to finish it. The hub world itself seemed alive, sending pulses of energy across the battlefield. Entire human ships shut down, powerless in the void, only to be blasted apart by alien cannons. But humans adapted quickly. Engineers shifted codes, pilots reset systems, and within minutes the weakness was overcome. The humans would not be stopped. As the battle raged, voices crackled across human channels. Soldiers shouted, commanders gave orders, and through it all one message repeated: for the fallen, for humanity. No mercy. The aliens fought with a kind of madness. They rammed human ships, detonated their own stations, even turned asteroids into weapons. But their desperation showed their fear. For the first time, they were not hunters, they were prey. Human troops landed on the surface of the hub world. The ground was a nightmare of metal and machinery, glowing towers pulsing with alien energy. The aliens swarmed, hissing and screaming, trying to push the humans back. But human boots pressed forward, every step fueled by rage. Explosives were planted at key points. Engineers worked under fire, breaking the systems that kept the alien network alive. Each explosion was a heartbeat closer to the end. The alien leaders sent one final message across the human fleet. It was not a threat this time. It was begging. They pleaded for mercy, promised peace, promised retreat. But their words were drowned in silence. Humanity remembered the massacres, the enslaved colonies, the arrogance of their demand. Kneel or perish. Now the answer was given. The humans detonated the charges. The hub world shuddered. towers collapsing, fire spreading like veins of light across its surface. In orbit, alien ships screamed in confusion as their network broke apart. Their weapons failed, their commands vanished, and their fleets scattered like dust in the wind. From above, human soldiers watched the planet burn. The core of the alien species was dying, and with it, their chance of survival. A silence fell across the human channels. No one cheered, no one shouted. It was victory, but it felt heavy. The hub world cracked apart in a final explosion, light brighter than a star. The last stronghold of the alien race was gone. Humanity had won, but in the hearts of many a question grew. Had they gone too far? They had not just defeated an enemy. They had erased a species. The commanders spoke the final words across the fleet. This was the last species to ever make humanity kneel. Let the galaxy remember. And so it ended. But in the far distance, beyond human sight, other civilizations watched in silence. They had seen the fire of humanity. They had seen what happened when humans were pushed too far, and they whispered among themselves, some with fear, some with respect, and some with plans of their own. The war was over, but the galaxy had changed forever. The hub world was gone. Where once a shining alien fortress stood, there was now only broken stone and glowing debris scattered in the void. The light of its destruction still burned in the eyes of the human fleet. For a long time, no one spoke. The silence of victory was heavy, like a shadow pressing down on every soldier, every captain, every commander. The war was over. Humanity had won, but the victory did not feel like celebration. There were no cheers in the command halls, no laughter on the warships. Men and women sat in their stations, staring at the blackness outside. They knew what they had done. They had not just defeated an enemy. They had erased them. A species, with its own history, its own children, its own dreams, had been wiped from existence, and yet none regretted the decision. The memory of the massacres was still alive. The burned colonies, the screaming families, the endless cruelty of the aliens who demanded humans to kneel. This was justice, many told themselves. This was survival. Humanity had shown the galaxy a truth. Never again would they be prey. On Earth, news of the victory spread fast. Cities lit up in firework displays. People sang in the streets. Banners of unity flew across the skies. But behind the joy was something else. Mothers held their children tighter. Veterans sat in silence, remembering friends who had never come back. The war had ended, but the scars would remain for generations. In the War Council, the leaders met one last time. The debate was short. They knew the galaxy was watching. Humanity had sent a message written in fire. Those who try to break us will be broken. Those who try to chain us will be destroyed. No species would ever again believe humanity could be bent to another's will. The official record named the aliens only one way, the last enemy. Their true name was buried, their culture erased. History would remember them only as a warning. Yet, among the younger officers and the scientists who had studied the enemy, there were whispers. Was it right? Could mercy have changed things? Could there have been peace? But those questions were silenced quickly. No one wanted to hear them now. In the outer colonies, the fleets returned. Warships scarred from battle lined the docks. Soldiers stepped onto soil again, and families reunited in tears. Children ran into the arms of parents, lovers embraced, and old men wept openly. But many stood alone, waiting for someone who would never return. The price of victory had been steep. For the soldiers, the memories of the war would not fade easily. They saw the burning skies of alien worlds in their dreams. They heard the desperate screams of their enemies in the quiet of the night. Some carried guilt, others carried pride. But all of them carried the weight of what humanity had done. Out among the stars, the galaxy had changed. Civilizations that once ignored humanity now whispered their name with fear and respect. They had watched the rise of humans, watched them endure, and now they had seen what happened when humanity was pushed too far. Entire councils trembled. Races that once thought of war now thought of diplomacy. Even those who hated humanity decided to wait, to watch, to prepare. In secret places hidden deep in the shadows, not all were afraid. Some were curious. Some were planning. The destruction of the last enemy had not only ended a war, it had also lit a fire. The galaxy now knew humanity was dangerous. That knowledge would shape the future in ways no one could yet imagine. On a quiet night, far from the celebrations, one human commander stood alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. He remembered the message of the aliens, kneel or perish. And he remembered the answer humanity had given. We kneel to no one. He wondered what would come next. The galaxy was vast. Humanity was strong, but strength always attracted challenge. Would others test them? Would others try to rise against them? Or would they join them, respect them, fear them? The future was a mystery, for now the war was over. Humanity had survived. Humanity had shown its fury. Humanity had written a chapter in history that no one would ever forget. The commander turned away, whispering a truth that would echo through generations. This was the last species that made us angry, the last to demand we kneel, and the last to fall by our hand. Let the galaxy remember, but in the cold silence of the farthest stars, something stirred. Unknown eyes watched from beyond human maps, ancient minds whispering in languages no human ear could understand. They had seen the fire of mankind, and unlike the others, they did not tremble. They waited, and so the story did not end. It only moved into shadows, where the next test, the next challenge, and the next enemy waited to rise. Humanity had claimed victory, but the galaxy was endless, and in its depths anger would find them again. The humans were ready.